This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Forging Table. The mission of Undaunted.Life is equipping men to push back darkness with content that forges spiritual, mental, and physical resilience. At the Forging Table, you'll see a group of regular guys forging spiritual resilience by digging into God's Word, and we're welcoming all of you to come along on that journey with us. That's Adam. That's Russ. That's Caleb. Can we just talk about it? Let's just address the elephant in the room. I'm just going to get a new timer. It's obviously a me problem because
it's time.
Because we were literally talking about this off air about the amount of struggle that we have. And if you were on YouTube, you were treated to a struggle session, a short one, albeit a short one, and you did get it going. But I don't. So what's the hang up? Is it the double tap?
That's what I just said. It's like sometimes it needs a double tap. I won't do it because I know that whoever does it will get ridiculed.
I do. Well, it's not about the ridicule. It's about just not being able to do your job. And so it's like, I don't know if it's just you've been a boss for too long, right? And I don't know if is that what it is?
I'm just not going to do the timer.
I don't blame you.
Not that timer. Get another timer.
I've never done it, but honestly, this is the first time I realized that you don't smash it. I thought this was kind of like a game, like a thing where you smash it, like boing.
It's not a bop it. Yeah, it's not a bop it. You know, I should put a bop it out here and just say, no, it's a timer, and just see how long it takes people. And also, apparently people can't do the clap part right because our editor, shout out to Landon, who's a great editor, he's like, hey, because of the centrifugal force of the planet and all that, we got to clap at the beginning, clap at the end, something to do with that.
Kyle, this is 2025. We should have a timer that starts on its own. When you start talking, it just goes.
How do we do that? He's off air. He's talking about like a muzzle for a dog that shoots out a treat, and so that's like how I should keep you guys on top of the microphone so people can actually hear you.
You've got all these microphones and cameras. You can't get a quality timer. We have to start it manually.
It's gonna be an hourglass.
You know what? How about you do this? That would be better. How about you just count using your fingers and toes on the next episode? Let's see how that goes.
That could work.
What is the timer actually for? Is that to tell you just when an hour is up? You don't want to go over?
So I can see how long it's recording here. The point from the beginning, I feel like there's about to be a mutiny against the timer where we just get rid of it entirely, right? But it's as we approach that 55-ish minute mark, it's like, okay, don't bring up something that's like, all right, guys, I've been waiting my whole life to bring this subject up, and we have to leave right after. You know what I mean?
You need an hourglass. Because then you can just visually see it, and we don't got to do this. It's just a flip.
Way more manly.
He's never actually used the timer.
We're going to do it live
with black sand.
It's an actual.
See if you can get one with the Undaunted.
But you do a sticker on it.
Yeah, do a custom.
Okay, but hourglass. Okay, Amazon.com. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, black.
Then put a little line
sand.
on it. They may even have some that have like a line on it that shows like a quarter tail or something like that.
Oh, there's got to be one with like a deer antler or elk antler or something like that.
Okay.
Look at that one. That one's dope.
Okay. There. See, and that one.
Days of Our Lives style,
Days of Our Lives. What a reference.
Days of Our Lives.
Wait a minute.
Catch that?
Growing up, when we were home during summertime, Stefano, Bo,
yeah,
really,
and then it got weird where she was like taken over by a demon at one point.
Oh my gosh,
we all had.
I know nothing of this.
Did you have grandparents?
We were all my children.
Okay, y'all were all my children. So we didn't watch.
I was in a cult. We didn't watch TV. So.
Every time I think about a cult, I think about you now. Like you're in that.
Thanks.
Dude, what a random reference. But my sister and I watched that every single day, and we like.
Do you know it's still going on?
There's no way.
Yes, it's the only one.
It is still going.
There is no.
And they still even reference some of the people. Like, this was maybe 5 years ago that I saw a reference, and it was still some of the same characters' names.
Okay, he can see it, so y'all have to guess. When did Days of Our Lives start?
Oh, okay.
1967.
Okay, 1967.
1987.
Tried 1965.
You're kidding me.
1965. You're good at math. How many years is that? That's 35 plus another
59 years.
29.
Right? 59?
Oh, and I go right to it, and it's a gay wedding. Okay, this is perfect. Oh, well, that's not Bo. What was Bo's lady's name? She's still in it. Literally a gay wedding.
If we say 65, it'd be 57 years.
Well, if not, the internet's going to let you know.
I think Bo had
24,
a couple of ladies.
59?
59.
Yeah.
Okay, Hope. Bo and Hope.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And then
it's crazy.
Dr. Marlena Evans. Or wait. Yeah. Marlena Evans. That was who Stefano was with. And Bo Brady apparently is, nope, he's no longer part of the show as of 2023.
This is going to be the worst rated ever.
We have literally like 2 chapters. No, we got 1 chapter. We're good.
4.5 minutes, and we're talking about Days of Our Lives. This is great.
Well, who brought up the hourglass?
That's a good point. It's all your fault.
You did.
I did. I'll
who brought
take
up Days
that
of Our
because
Lives?
I think it's going to be great.
I do.
I think we're going to look back, and it's going to be great for you. And for us, because
so
people are really...
Okay, so on the hourglass screen is apparently the world's worst timer. Okay, so someone thought of this. It's on the same screen,
they
right?
know that when people buy that, they end up getting
an hourglass. It's like, how did you scroll so far past all these hourglasses to not get an hourglass?
Listen, to whoever makes this, though, quality stuff, we're not against it. It's just not for...
I think it's from China.
People that have to touch things.
China.
Did you have to pay a tariff when you bought that?
No, because that was bought roughly around the same time Days of Our Lives began, and so I've only had to replace the batteries once. Well, there's the norm. There's like the little little timer for kids, like the timeout timer.
Oh yeah.
Or the kitchen timer.
Oh, my grandma had one of those.
No, but
I can remember that.
You could also have the timeout camera. Or
timeout camera. I'm gonna start putting you on timeout over there. There'll just be a camera on you.
But if somebody says something, like if it's a sorry Joby or something like that, too many times, you can just pass it to them,
penalty
give it
box.
a little 5 minute penalty.
The problem is Ryan would never get to talk, so if he's here with all that study he's done, like he would just, one right after the other. Okay, what is this? Oh, that looks fancy. What is this? Are we allowed to show this on the internet?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, all right, YouTube.
I was thinking the same thing. I didn't want to say.
Is that a lion?
It's got a lion on the top.
That's
of it.
a lion.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Is it a sign?
It was meant to be.
Okay.
That's kind of ornate.
Yeah,
that is a little ornate for the
Did y'all
forging
just
table.
become best friends? Okay, all right, but we know stuff like that is kind of out there because that was my first thought. I just didn't know the word ornate. So
someone's going to ship you an hourglass. You're going to just one day it's going to show up on your porch.
This is what we're going to do. On the bottom of our website is our PO box. So if you have always been a fan and you've been looking for an opportunity to make Undaunted Life or make me an hourglass, not a 30-minute glass that we don't know, it's on you now. It's on you guys now. Don't let me buy some cheapo depot thing off of Amazon because guess what? This cup, shout out to a guy at Church 1122 for making me this leather, pad thing around all that. Someone made us these coasters, these Undaunted coasters. Someone spun these pins out of like olive wood from Jerusalem and gave to some of the core guys here. So yeah, that's it. That's it.
I like it.
This is the worst introduction of all time, but it's okay. I think we've come a long way, and Caleb just watched the entire time as this went down. We've decided this is the worst thing ever, but we did. Oh, I was gonna say, clapping apparently is really hard too because we got off on Days of Our Lives somehow. But so Howard Wickersham was sitting right there because if you're above about 6'2", you have to sit in the corner because you're just gonna engulf everyone. So Jake Winkler will always sit there. Definitely not Sam Hayes-Winkle. We love you, Sam, but you are fun-sized. But Howard's over there in that chair, and he's like, yeah, I'll be the clapper. And so I said, okay, right before I start my introduction, so you'll see me over here. I'll hit my 2 buttons and just go ahead and clap, and then I'll do my introduction. 2 or 3 episodes in a row, he clapped as I was doing my introduction. And he's a smart guy. He's a really smart guy. He makes a good living. He's got a great family. Like, he clapped as I was talking, and I was just kind of like... Howard, like what? Like, no, you wait. And he's like, oh, okay. And the next one happens. It's like, all right, welcome back to the forging table and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, okay, guys. All right, we need to chill out with that a little bit.
Should have kept it in.
I should, what we did?
Fun.
That every single introduction was messed up for that entire set of episodes. And I just told Landon to leave it in. I was like, it is better because I'm giggling like a girl like the entire time during the introduction. So I'm like, no, just leave it. Just leave it in there. It's funny. Like, it doesn't have to be that serious. Like, guys know that we're all boys. And even my dad, he watches every single one of these. His favorite part is when we get after Ryan. That's like his favorite thing. And
it's
like
everybody's
favorite. Yeah. Because everyone likes Ryan, but we also like to kind of get after him a little bit, and he likes to give it back to us.
I don't. Just because I don't know him well enough to feel, I want to stay out of that.
So you know what you need to do? You need to be the most ruthless with him. No. Just make it awkward where he's
from
just
the
like,
start.
Why is this guy that I barely know just like, because you're also the only one that doesn't, or you and Matt are the only ones that don't go to our church, and so it's like kind of a shame on you situation. So he's already going to get on y'all for going to a church with female elders and letting women pastors teach and all that kind of stuff.
He has words come out of his mouth sometimes.
You just got to be ready, man.
But see, you
just have the thing.
You're only here for an hour, and then you leave, and you don't have to see him again. So just let it fly.
Okay.
Right? Let it go. Right?
No.
Yeah. You're a very mean person. You're very mean-spirited, and so you just bring that personality in here, man.
Yeah.
You cool with that?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just pass right off of that. Caleb, I need you to save us here. We're going to be getting into a short jaunt away from the narrative of Joseph's life. So we got a lot of Joseph coming, and we've had a lot of Joseph up to this point, but we are taking an interruption to talk about Judah and Tamar. And so let's read the first 11 verses of Genesis 38. And what you're reading out of the ESV?
Yep.
Is that what everyone's got today? Your NIV?
NASB.
NASB. That's what we use at Faith Bible Church in Edmond, Oklahoma. Shout out. So let's go. First 11 verses.
It happened at that time that Judah went down from his brothers and turned aside to a certain Adulamite, whose name was Hira. There Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. He took her and went into her, and she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name She conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. Yet again she bore a son, and she called his name Shelah. Judah was in Chezib when she bore him, and Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, Go into your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her, and raise up offspring for your brother. But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his. So whenever he went into his brother's wife, he would waste the semen on the ground, so as not to give offspring to his brother. And what he did was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow in your father's house till Shelah, my son, grows up, for he feared that he would die like his brothers. So Tamar went and remained in her father's house.
So I was curious when we got to this section to ask you guys. I've seen this section of scripture, especially 6 through 11, used by a lot. Used by a lot of atheists in a lot of different contexts, out of context, to try to talk about how cruel and mean and nasty God is. So they're like, oh yeah, this guy from the Bible, he like masturbated and he let his semen go into the ground and God like killed him. Mm-hmm. When it's like, no, that's not how that happened. And, God was forcing a man to have like an affair, like that kind of a situation here. It's like, no, not that either. So I don't know, like, have you guys because also I've heard, because there are people out there that are pro-abortion that say masturbation is abortion, mm-hmm. but they're doing it as they're targeting and picking at pro-lifers, like, oh, have you ever masturbated? Like, are wet dreams abortion or blah, 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 because they apparently don't understand the concept of a, one-celled zygote that comes from a one-celled sperm cell and a one-celled egg cell. And so I just didn't know if y'all had seen that before, because as soon as I read this section, I was just like flooded with all that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even among some Christians, I think they say that they look to this as verses that are, speaking against masturbation. But I mean, obviously that's not what was happening here. So,
have you guys? Yeah.
So one thing that it stuck with me was that God is not against family planning, but this was family plotting. Like the intent here was really wicked, in that this was him deciding for himself that he was going to withhold this inheritance from his brother and from his lineage. And so, I mean, like the idea that people use that, that's just, people are going to use whatever they see to their own means. But he is wicked because he is plotting against, for one, what his father instructed him to do, and he's also plotting against his dead brother in his name. So
when it's I guess, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's levirate or levirate marriage. So basically the brother of the deceased was, if he didn't have any offspring, he was to marry his brother's widow, and any offspring would be considered the original husband's, right? The original brother who was married and all that type of thing. And so it was basically his duty. And it's kind of a derivative of the duty of, if someone killed your brother in battle, it was incumbent upon you to, have blood for blood and to take over in that sense. And go ahead.
If I remember correctly, this didn't actually come from the Hebrews. This was a part of other cultures, and then it ended up being adopted by the Hebrews and later on put into, I believe, the Mosaic law. Yeah. And this is going to sound silly. Shout out to my wife, who made me watch some type of, not a rom-com, maybe it is some little rom-com, but it was about this in present day, where this guy, he had a brother that was an Hasidic Jew. He was a doctor somewhere. His brother died. He has to take over and be her husband for a period of time. It was really, I watched it because it makes my wife like me.
I was wondering where that was going to go.
I don't still know where it went.
I guess, well, my point is, I guess some people still may do this, or still may have this practice of this can be a way that, I don't know.
Well,
in the movie, it made it seem that way.
We've already been on IMDb once in this episode. Do you have any idea what this is called, in case guys are struggling?
I tell you what, if you just put in movie about doctor, brother, Hasidic Jew taking brother's wife.
That's how Joe Rogan gives Jamie instructions, to Google.
These are words.
Taking, okay, wife rom-com. Okay. All right. We're putting Google to the test here. Nobody Wants This? Is that what it was called? Nobody Wants This?
I don't know.
Well, we somehow got to the 10 best Jewish movies on Netflix right now.
Okay.
Which you should not have Netflix because they still have the Cuties show on there, which shows little girls dancing for the sexual pleasure of adult men. To each her own. No? Yes? No?
You're saying that like I would know.
You don't know the title at all?
No.
Okay. I think we should
I
break
know what they
phone
look
protocol.
like.
We need Tiff. We need Tiff to tell us exactly what this, and how did she hear about it? What kind of Bible study is she in where this was suggested, this probably 4 out of 10 stars movie? But, okay.
All right.
Whenever,
I'll find out.
All right. Whenever she gets back through. But yeah, that was the other thing in this section. So I guess Onan, he was second born, but he wanted the place of the firstborn for himself, and he wanted double inheritance. And so I think this is part of the plotting part that Russ was talking about, to where it's like, okay, this was not like, no, I just love my brother so much, and I just can't imagine, like, having sex with his wife, and it's just too weird, and like I actually am in love with her sister. Like, it wasn't any of that.
No,
like it was literally like super selfish.
100% selfish. He was willing to have sex, right? But
Yeah.
not fulfill what he was asked to do. So, I mean, I think this is just the kind of the beginning of a long line of like, let me take this in my own hands, make my own decision kind of thing that we're seeing here. Obviously, and it's just, we know that never works out.
Think about the dominoes that have happened to Judah here. So first of all, he comes and he moves to Canaan. Like he's with the Canaanites. Like that's a problem. Danger zone. Not only that, but then he takes a Canaanite wife. That's also a problem. So it made me think of what happened with Abraham and Sarah encouraging Abraham to sleep with Hagar. And then here we go. Here's Ishmael. So it's, danger zone. This is not going to be good. And then, of course, Judah, you would presume that he probably knows better. And then first son dies, second son dies. It's like, dude, this is a problem. And then he still continues to go further in trying to protect his third son. And is like, okay, I'm going to take this over myself. My first 2 sons have died. I'm still not listening to God, but I am smarter and I know what's supposed to be done. I'm going to protect my son.
One, we see in verse 9, he still had sex with her.
Right.
So he was not above sleeping with his his brother's widow, but by golly, he was not going to inseminate her. And so it's like, okay, all right, bold move, Cotton. But I guess the thing about this little episode here, I guess you could call it, I'm in IMDb mode. By the way, ChatGPT thinks the name of the movie is Loving Leah, a Hallmark movie from 2009.
Yeah, I think that may be it. She
Okay.
hadn't responded, but that sounds familiar.
Man,
Okay.
Days of Our Lives, Hallmark movies.
So it literally, ChatGPT is like, it sounds like you're referring to Loving Leah, a 2009 Hallmark Hall of Fame, not just Hallmark, Hallmark Hall of Fame drama that blends the traditional Jewish customs.
That's it.
ChatGPT,
Way to
Google,
go.
not even in the ballpark. But yeah, just so for anybody else, okay, now that we know the name of it, Loving Leah.
After this releases, they're going to get 10,000 downloads. They're going to be like, what is happening?
Why did they, Loving Leah? Okay. What do we think? What would you give it out of 10 stars on IMDb? What are you giving this movie? Loving Leah. And then
Me
we'll see
myself as
just you as a film critic.
5
You gave it a 5?
out of 10. It's just not my genre.
It's a Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I mean,
Fairly shocking here.
If you're my wife, it's a really good movie if that's what you're looking for. It's a really good movie. I would say my wife
Who
would
is
probably
looking
give it
for that?
an
Like
8.5.
huge fans of Genesis 38?
8.5 for just like a good little love story.
Okay, because people are really stingy on IMDb. Like when you go to like the top 100 movies of all time, like I think there's 2 or 3 movies. We'll do this. We'll just do it live. This has 4,000 reviews and it's a 7.1 out of 10.
It's pretty good.
That is an incredibly solid score, like in the world of IMDb.
I follow Rotten Tomatoes more, and I don't look at the critics. I just look at the audience score.
Well, what would you? So
Those are
would
my
you give it a
people.
tomato? Would you watch it again?
I've watched that movie so many times.
You've watched it multiple times.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we're really. It's like when you just casually mentioned you were in a cult like a year and a half ago.
So she says, she responded, Loving Leah, so good. Levite marriage. Do you want to watch it again tonight?
Okay, so this is great. So now Rotten Tomatoes, it has no scores from real critics, but the audience score has it at 72.
That's pretty good.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
It's actually really, so like they went to a lot of lengths to make it fairly accurate on a lot of stuff. I'm obviously not Jewish, don't know everything about it, but there are a lot of things in it that very much are true to the Jewish population.
I wrote it down. My wife loved these movies, so maybe I'll be watching.
Your handwriting is so.
I was going to say something too earlier, but I
looks
felt like
scripted, like it looks
it's spectacular.
AI. That is awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, did you write anything like filthy that you wouldn't want to show to the world? Because I think the planet needs to see it. Your camera's right there. Your camera too, baby. Show them that. We can't zoom in, but that is spectacular. Let me see your hand. Oh, yeah, your handwriting's atrocious. That's why all your stuff's written out.
Yep. No, I type it all.
Yeah, you're like a doctor.
It's
like,
not good. It's all.
I mean, how are you doing? Mine is discernible to me.
Yeah, I'm like you, except for less.
Yeah, I write well that in a lot of areas, right? I'm kind of like you, but like 15% more normal. That's kind of normal. But I did want to ask you. I said I was going to look at the IMDb scores, which I do. But what do you guys say? Kind of, being a little bit serious here in this section, especially 6 through 11, about how people read that and just go like, "That's not a loving God." Like this guy, for whatever reason, yeah, he was selfish, yeah, he was a whatever, but he killed him. He killed him because he, splooged on the ground. Like, come on. And this is whenever, your Andy Stanley guys that are like unhitchers, they love stories like this in the Old Testament because they're like, that's not, basically the God that I would want to send somebody to or talk about.
But is God giving us every single detail? Do we know all of the things that this guy really did? All of the things that were in his heart? All of the things that he'd done in his life? No. And I believe that there's more to that. And I wrote down, I would love to have had more detail about It literally doesn't say anything. It's in one sentence. He was wicked, killed him.
Right.
Right.
I would love to have more detail, but there's no more detail.
I think the word wicked really points to it. You actually do have this in the New Testament. I forget their names, but the couple that comes in Acts and tells Paul that they've sold everything and they're giving it to the church, and they're wicked. I mean, like they're more than that's just a sin, that's wrong. They're basically trying to twist things in a way, and that's exactly what this brother is doing. He's twisting this idea of sleeping with her to his benefit, not letting his dad know. It's truly wicked. So, I mean, this says that God struck him down. Again, God's judgment is probably better than ours. So, if the ultimate judge says you should die, you should probably die.
Well, that's another thing. When you read some of these narratives, I remember having this feeling a lot when we were going through Acts. Gosh, we were covering all kinds of ground, and it'd be in a paragraph. So it would take one of y'all, 30 seconds to read, but this would have been years of narrative, years of stuff. And that's partially probably one of the reasons why I always get my hackles up when people are like anti The Chosen or anti House of David or anti stuff like that. Because even House of David on Amazon, like I had several people, say that, yeah, you should watch that. Joby was one of them. The very first screen it shows is this is not a, verse by verse retelling from the Bible or, a perfect historical narrative. We have taken some liberties for the storyline. So basically keep that in mind as you're watching this, because it's like, we don't know what little shepherd boy David was saying to King Saul whenever he was in his bedchambers playing the harp for him to calm him down because he was losing his freaking mind. And so the problem becomes is, okay, if The Chosen becomes your New Testament, right? If the House of David becomes, 1st and 2nd Samuel for your life, then yeah, that's deeply problematic. But otherwise, it's not a big deal. Yeah. Oh, I thought you had something to come in.
If you like the movie, you should read the book.
Also true.
Type of deal.
Also true.
That's for
read the source material.
Yeah, anything you're watching, if you really like it. Most people that are fans of something have either already read the book or they watch it and go back and read the book. And that's the same thing you should do with those shows.
What book?
The Bible.
Which one are you talking about?
Which one are we talking about?
It's called The Chosen.
Okay. Shoot.
Is that
the
on
making
Amazon?
of The Chosen,
Guys, I
Volume 1.
already get really angry emails. Can we not get any more? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So basically, if you're in the top 250 on Internet Movie Database, and I think there's millions of movies that are on here. Don't look at them. All right. You're in the 8s. It's 8 and above. So the fact that this Loving Leah is in the 7s is pretty spectacular. I want to see how many of the top 10 movies y'all can guess. We're not going to sit here all day, but most people know what the number one, and everyone kind of knows 1, 2, 3, 4, like for the most part. Yeah.
This is not a game for me.
Is Forrest Gump one of them?
Forrest Gump is not in the top 10.
Oh.
It is number 11.
Okay.
Titanic?
Titanic is not in the top 10, but it is in the top 250.
Casablanca.
Casablanca, not in the top 10.
Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind, not in the top 10.
What? That was a good guess.
There's like some major
Godfather.
low-hanging fruit.
Godfather.
Which one? The original?
1, yeah.
Yeah, that's number 2.
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, not in the top 10.
Not in our house.
No.
We watch Loving Leah and the Sound of Music.
We have to do a top 10. Can you have a Tiff send your top 10?
I got it. Pacific Rim.
Definitely not. No.
Pacific Rim is great.
How many
it's
of
not
them
the top
are
10?
How many of them are
Braveheart.
Fast and the Furious?
Guys,
Braveheart.
I thought this was going to be
Gladiator.
super easy. Gladiator's like number 33. It's one of the most egregious injustices of all time. Braveheart is not in the top 10.
I'll
Y'all
just
have
give my
gotten-
top 10.
y'all
Last
have
of the
gotten
I've gotten
Mohicans,
an 11.
Tombstone.
No.
Those are my top 10.
What about Bob? I've just
Never
naming
heard of
movies.
it.
Indiana
What?
Jones was my number
This is
one.
not going well, and of course not. That
Star
terrible
Wars.
movie's not on there. Nope, that terrible stuff is not on here either. But there is a very,
Oh,
very
Lord of
awful.
the Rings.
Yep.
No.
Lord of the Rings. Well, which
Please
ones?
no.
Twin Towers.
That is number 12.
Oh
Or
my
it's called Two Towers, you terrorist. So it's the other two that are in the top 10. Fellowship of the Ring is 9, and Return of the King is 6.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I watched
So,
all
yeah.
3 of those movies in one day, and I never want that to happen to me again.
All right, I'm gonna,
It was awful.
brother. Oh, you didn't like Lord of the Rings either?
No.
You and
Terrible.
me. It's
Can you
literally
play some music
a crew
right
of
now
two. I
while
can't.
y'all-
We'll get we're about to have some Hallmark Hall of Fame music in the background because I thought it was the only human on the planet. So okay, I was gonna wait for Jake Winkler, but I'm gonna give Jake a little bit of a heads up here because he's on the next batch. We're wrapping up Genesis, and Jake is a great dude. Jake is in that. There's no joke here. Jake is a tremendous dude. He is a servant, and he found out that Kelsey said, I'd really like to watch Lord of the Rings. Like, I'd never watched it. Everyone refers to it. I think I'd like to watch it. And I've talked so much trash about Lord of the Rings over the years because I watched 1.5 of them 25 years ago. And I said, okay, you know what? This is a great time for me to just like be humble, go in a different mindset, just wipe the slate clean and see if my wife and I can get into this. And so what we did is we approached it like a TV show. So we didn't watch the 3-hour movie, the 3-hour movie, the 3-hour movie. We were watching about an hour at a time. So Jake takes the extended cuts of these movies, which how can you imagine that they're even longer than they are? And he breaks it down in episodic form. And I think he did it from memory. He's like, hey, around this time period, it's going to be this battle will have ended. And then, we have kind of a new narrative with da-da-da and this doofy elf and this whatever hobbit and all this type of thing. And so Kelsey and I went into it. And by the end, I was ready to peel my toenails off with pliers. I could not, the movie just wouldn't end. And here's one of the most egregious plot holes in the history of cinema. There you go for some hyperbole, even though it's not. It takes them 2.5 movies to remember, oh, there's an undead zombie army in the middle of this wooded area. All we got to go in and do is do a little sales pitch. We just got to like win friends and influence people, convince them to fight on our side. They fight on their side. They take out the little, mammoth elephant army and all that. And then what King Aragorn, who was supposed to be Russell Crowe, did?
Aragon.
He just, what did I say? I thought that was Aragorn.
Aragorn. It's Aragon.
It's Aragorn.
No.
I don't know.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay,
Put a test.
He seems
All right.
pretty confident.
It's Aragon.
And that really kind of lost all my steam. Aragorn.
Boom.
Aragorn. Take it back.
Dang it.
Take it back.
I was wrong.
Anyway, so should have been Russell Crowe, but instead it's Viggo Mortensen, even though I like Viggo Mortensen. He lets the undead zombie army that can't die, just lets them go. Just lets them go. After the penultimate battle, not the final battle.
Yeah.
Make it make sense, dorks. Right? All you Lord of the Rings people. How?
Doesn't.
Am I the only one that's just fired
It's
up about it? I was
interesting. That's
so
true.
mad. I was like, we wasted like
I like Lord of the Rings.
10
but
hours.
I don't like it enough to try to
Defend
get
it.
into combat on what you're talking about right
I thought of one that's got to be on that top 10 list. Shawshank Redemption.
It's number 1.
now. Okay.
Nice.
Is it number
Yeah,
one?
It's number 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
So we're just gonna end this because it got a little bit off the rails here. So we'll just do our top 20 here because I think everyone's seen these and likes these. 7 is number 20.
So good.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I've not seen that. That's Jack Nicholson from back in the 70s. Interstellar is 18. 17 is Goodfellas, which is great.
Yep.
16 is The Matrix. 15 is Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. So Episode 5, what would that be? The second original one?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, there you go.
Actually, that's one of my least favorite ones.
Okay. Well, see, there you go. Number 14, Inception. Gosh, Christopher Nolan has a bunch on here. 13 is Fight Club. 12 is Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. 11 is Forrest Gump. 10 is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, even though I like The Outlaw Josie Wells better. But that is number 10. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring is 9. Pulp Fiction is number 8. That's a movie I watched about 3 or 4 times and still can't figure out why it's so popular. Schindler's List, if you want to ruin your Friday night, watch that one. It's a great movie, but it is, yikes.
Watched it one time.
Yep,
That was
yeah.
enough.
That was enough.
Yeah, that's kind of like in the category of Passion of the Christ. It's like, yeah, we watched that once, we checked the box, we just never do that again. That's number 7. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is number 6. 12 Angry Men is number 5. Anybody?
Nope.
Anybody? From 1957. The Godfather Part 2 is number 4.
Also
The Dark
good.
Knight is number 3. And then The Godfather number 2, Shawshank Redemption number 1.
I think I know somebody that went on a date, like first date, to Passion of the Christ.
There's
Oh,
no
no.
way. There's no way. Who is it?
No, I for sure know.
Say their name. Say it in public. No one listens to this show. It's small. Just say it.
It was a girl,
Oh,
and yeah, I'm not going to say
okay. All right.
who I think it is.
Oh, no. Whose idea was it? His?
Yes.
And she said yes.
I don't think she knew what she was going to.
Oh.
He said, "Do you want to go to a movie?" She said yes. Showed up to the movie, Passion of the Christ. Didn't go so well.
So
Bolted
they didn't get married.
right after. No, I don't think they
Okay.
talked after that. I think. I mean, it was an awkward date. There was, tears.
There was a crucifixion. There was a very long flogging scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, whenever I think about that, I wonder if that was just if he won a bet or lost a bet.
You know what I think it is? If I were to like Jordan Peterson, like analyze this guy, I bet he was trying to show her just how dedicated of a Christian he
I kind
was.
of think so.
And it's just like I could take you to a Bible study or a coffee shop. I'm gonna take you to the foot of the cross, boo. Yeah. And she was just not feeling it.
And maybe
Not-
she was in for 50 Shades of Grey, She's like, I'm here. I'm ready for some 50 Shades of Grey.
I don't
and
think
here's the
that
passion.
was that type of girl either, but
And this would have been back in, when was that released? Early 2000s?
Yeah.
I think it was in 9th grade. And I was in 9th or 10th grade. So 2000, 2001 is when
No,
that would have
it
came
was-
out.
Yeah, that's right.
Sheesh. Okay, that's bold. That's a very bold move.
It is.
So anyway, let's wrap up. Did anybody have any other thoughts on, people read a segment like this, 6 through 11, and they're like, yeah, this God, I wouldn't follow this God anyway. He just kills people for ejaculating, that kind of thing. Anybody want to put a bow on that? I don't blame you. Or you do. Let's go.
no. I was just going to say that's the worst. That's the worst T-shirt idea. So you put a bow on it. Don't make a T-shirt of it.
Put a bow on it? Why?
Nothing.
I missed
It was
the
a
joke.
bad joke.
No,
it was
no,
a
no.
bad joke.
No, explain. I know it's worse when you have to explain the joke, but I missed it entirely, which is my
Yeah,
fault.
you said you want to put a bow on it, then you quoted that, and I said, yeah, that sounds like the worst T-shirt idea I've ever heard.
Man, am I dense? Are y'all
About
picking
what
up
you
he's
said
saying
about
now?
ejaculating?
Yeah.
Yeah, putting the ejaculate on the T-shirt. Like bows and ejaculate on a T-shirt probably don't go well, I think is what he was saying.
Man. if
Just
somebody
whatever
were-
phrase that you just said, it just popped in my mind. I was like, that's a Kyleism.
Oh.
There should be a T-shirt. And I thought, no, that shouldn't be a T-shirt.
I swear I'm going to make a T-shirt that
Can
says.
we edit this out? This just
no,
went bad.
that's the problem. And that's the thing is I like my inside
Somebody's-
jokes.
somebody's gonna get it.
I made some Sorry Joby shirts and I wore them around his church and people thought they had no idea what it was referring to, but they loved it. So I want to make some shirts that say red meat and Christian metal on it, but I think I might sell 4 of them because I think there's not a whole lot of people that are into both of those things. Hopefully not. If that's wrong, let me know, audience. But let's move on here. Adam, let's go ahead and read 12 through, I think we're going to finish up the chapter. Yeah, let's 12 through the end of Genesis 38.
Now, after a considerable time, Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. And when the time of mourning was ended, Judah went up to the sheep shearers at Timnah, he and his friend Hira the Adullamite. It was told to Tamar, behold, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep. So she removed her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in the gateway of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah had grown up, and she had not been given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a harlot, for she had covered her face. So he turned aside to her by the road, and said, Here now, let me come in to you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What will you give me, that you may come in to me? He said, Therefore, I will send you a young goat from the flock. She said, Moreover, will you give me a pledge until you send it? He said, What pledge shall I give you? And she said, Your seal and your cord and your staff that is in your hand. So he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him. Then she arose and departed and removed her veil and put on her widow's garments. When Judah sent the youngest goat by his friend the Adammelite to receive the pledge from the woman's hand, he did not find her. He asked the men of her place, saying, Where is the temple prostitute who was by the road at Enaim? But they said, "There has been no temple prostitute here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I did not find her." And furthermore, the men of the place said, "There has been no temple prostitute here." Then Judah said, "Let her keep them, otherwise we will become a laughingstock. After all, I sent this young goat, but you did not find her." Now it was about 3 months later that Judah was informed, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot, and behold, she is with child by heraldry." Then Judah said, "Bring her out and let her be burned." It was while she was being brought out that she sent to her father-in-law, saying, "I am with child by the man to whom these things belong." And she said, "Please examine and see, whose signet ring and cords and staff are these?" Judah recognized them and said, "She is more righteous than I, inasmuch as I did not give her to my son Shelah, and he did not have relations with her again." It came about at the time she was giving birth that, behold, there were twins in her womb. Moreover, it took place while she was giving birth, one put out a hand, and the midwife took and tied a scarlet thread on his hand, saying, "This one came out first." But it came about as he drew back his hand that, behold, his brother came out. Then she said, "What a breach you have made for yourself." So he was named Perez. After his brother came out, who had the scarlet thread on his hand, he was named Zerah.
So maybe we don't put a bow on it. We can do tie a scarlet thread. Maybe we do tie a scarlet thread shirt.
Yeah.
You think that might be a little bit better?
Sure.
So interesting story here. The burning that Judah was suggesting for Tamar here, this was later codified. This kind of goes back to something you were saying earlier, Russ. You know, this was later codified into Mosaic law in Leviticus 21:9 and Deuteronomy 22:21. But he was immoral for sleeping with a woman he thought to be a prostitute. And now here he is, like, ready, standing on business to put her to death for immorality. The same kind, right? And so I thought that was an interesting, twist for the story for sure.
For sure.
I think it's a good point that usually the sin that you struggle with, it looks so much worse on somebody else. Like whenever you see something that you're disgusted with how you act in a situation, when somebody else acts that same way, you don't see it as, "Oh man, I'm just like that." You see that as repulsive. And for him to do that, I mean, obviously, he's in a bad spot. His wife died. He's just kind of going along with the culture. Like something I read said that this was pretty common that there would be these cult prostitutes. So the people in that area, it was their custom that the goddess of fertility of the ground, before any season of planting, they would go to the cult prostitute. They would reenact this idea of the marriage between the land and the goddess, which would be sexual in nature. And they would do that before they planted for hopes of a good harvest. So you see him completely, not just the sexual immorality, but this really points to the idea he has just completely absorbed himself into the culture around him. He's still maybe talking about the God of his father, but he is living out this lifestyle that's very much just taking whatever pieces he can from everything around him.
Well, as y'all were saying that, I was curious, like, I know for me with a 5-year-old and 3-year-old boy, when I see my worst qualities come out of them, I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah. Because there's not going to be an investigation into how they got that, right? It's like they either saw me do it or it's just in there the same way it was in me.
And do you find yourself being more heavy in the discipline on things that you're scared of them having traits like you in those certain areas? I know I do. Like there have been times that I've overreacted to something because in my mind, I've played out where it goes. So I'm reacting to 5 steps ahead of where my kids are at that moment because I'm thinking about myself where that went.
I want to hear what y'all have to say about this as well. But where I come more often than not is I will actually be more calm, but more stern. And like, because a lot of time when I tell the boys to stop, it's like, hey, stop or else. Like you get one shot. Right? Like you stop doing that behavior, and if you don't stop doing behavior, you get punished. Like that's just, it is what it is. But when I see something like that either comes from some sort of a sin nature, some sort of brokenness, some sort of something they saw dad do, so they think it's okay to mimic the same behavior, that's whenever I'm just kind of like, hey, buddy. And sometimes there's an apology that needs to happen. Hey, I know you said that because you heard dad say that at one point. But that was actually pretty mean. Dad shouldn't have done that. Dad's sorry. Dad should definitely not have done that around you. And I'm just so sorry. And I just ask for your forgiveness. And so I'm kind of practicing with them on repentance and all that. But that's typically where I go. But the freak out is happening internally, Like oh no, it's me. Like, and I don't want that, right? You know, because you know your worst qualities.
Yeah.
What about for y'all?
Yeah. For me, it's similar. It's more like my heart just sinks. You know what I mean? Like when I see them going down a path, it's like things that I've struggled with, let's say, over the years that I don't like about myself, is that it's just like, oh no. I mean, exactly like you're saying. So, you know, I think I probably take a little bit more time on the discipline on those things, because I'm telling them, like, listen, you're on a bad path. I mean, my oldest are 15 and 13, so I'm thinking particularly of them because I can talk to them differently than a 5-year-old, right? So, you know, if I'm like, listen, I know where this ends up, you know, 10 years from now or 5 years from now or whatever it is that you're struggling with, so, or that you're doing that I'm watching you do. So it probably helps me to slow down and certainly turn inward, like, immediately.
Well, and
I mean,
Adam, you got a house full of girls.
Right.
I wonder but you still see some bad qualities, right?
I mean, I do. They're younger, so you know, I don't feel like I've gotten into that time where I'm going to start dealing with some of those issues and those kinds of things are going to come up. But Kyle, I feel the same. I'm pretty strict in my house, and when I say something goes or doesn't go, like, I expect them to follow it. But there have been plenty of times where things have happened and I have flown off the handlebars and freaked out immediately. And there have been many times where I felt like I've had to go back and apologize and say, look, that was more than it needed to be. Get down on their level, explain to them, like, Dad's an idiot. Sorry. That was more than it needed to be, and bring it back a little bit.
There was one time, literally, I wish I had it so I could post, like, online. I literally screamed at my boys, and I said, we don't scream in this house. Like, because I've had 2 vocal cord surgeries. I get very frustrated when people I hate repeating myself for whatever reason, and don't you dare start. I know where all of you went, especially you. I saw it. I hate repeating myself. But for the most part, when I have to repeat myself, it's because somebody couldn't hear me, because I have trouble projecting. I have trouble, like, I forget what the words are for
you hate
it. Like,
what?
I just can't.
Let's just
Can't do
figure
this
that
with
out.
you. No. No. Take it back. Say you're sorry. Say you're sorry.
I won't. We just need to move on.
I don't think so.
We're
not putting a bow on this. I need you to say sorry. I need you to say you're sorry.
All right, let's just carry on to
So
what
as I was
next.
saying, Mr. Eustace, that's one of the things where I will see the behavior and I realize it immediately that I did the super over the top thing that I'm mad at them for, because I will scream to get their attention, and I can't really scream either. Like, I can elevate my voice more, but I try to talk at a normal voice to protect my voice because I don't want a 3rd vocal cord surgery. You know what I mean? And so I allow all the frustration to keep me from realizing the words that are coming out of my face. And so that's not common, but that has certainly happened to where it's like, that's a special level of idiot, I think.
Yeah.
Got something to say about that? Call myself an idiot too. You trying to double down? Is that what's happening,
No,
Russ?
I'm really sorry for
I don't believe you.
where that went.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, you can have your dinner after all. Well, another thing that was interesting here is I was kind of confused by verse 26. She is more righteous than I, right? Like, I didn't know if that was like, oh my gosh, like, she got me. Like, she's more righteous. But this was an interesting note from the MacArthur commentary. This was not an accolade for her moral character and faith, but a commendation by Judah for her attention to inheritance rights of her family line and his shameful neglect thereof.
For sure.
So it wasn't like a backhanded compliment, but it wasn't like a slobbering praise either.
I took it as like a light bulb moment for him, is what I think it was. I think he's living in with the Canaanites. He's taken a Canaanite wife. 2 of his sons are dead. Right. He's now slept with a harlot who happens to be his daughter-in-law. Oh boy. And it finally is now clear to him that, good gosh, this girl's more righteous than even I am.
Right. Yeah, I think when he sent her away, right, to go back to her dad's house, he kind of wrote her off. Like, he wasn't planning on, which I think it's funny, we're calling him Sheila. Pretty sure his name isn't Sheila.
It's Shelah. Sheila's my mom's name, so it kept perking my ears up here.
Yeah. But
just as long as you change it every time. Yeah.
the Bible app actually said Sheila.
Oh,
'Cause
good.
I read something else that the guy said Sheila, and he was like, it's kind of like Joe Dirt, where he was like, Joe Dirt. He's like, I'm just fancying it up. It's really Sheila, but nobody wants to be called Sheila if they're a dude.
Caleb had a really good point, and we just couldn't get off hey, you started the Sheila narrative, okay? Because you were trying to get one over on Adam.
Well, I just think he's, when she set him up, obviously.
Yeah.
And when she brings this to light, like, he's not just thinking about, oh, I had sex with her and I shouldn't have. He's thinking about all the other stuff he did wrong, I think, right? I mean, it's like, Not he married a Canaanite woman. He brought his sons, or he put his sons with a Canaanite woman. He abdicated his responsibility and sent her back to her father's house. That was his job to find her next husband, right? So I think that he's going through all this right now, and he actually admits that. He's like,
well, let's let's take that and add some positivity to it, because we've got Judah, and he's made all of these mistakes, and now he's been broken down, and now he's at to the point where she's more righteous than I. Did any of y'all studies go to Perez and his lineage and who he is?
Go ahead.
Okay, Matthew 1:3. This is where we start talking about the lineage of Jesus. Well, guess where it comes from? It comes from Judah.
Yep.
It comes from this sexual relationship that he had with Tamar. Tamar's son Perez is named in the lineage of Jesus. Not only that, Tamar is named in the lineage of Jesus. She's one of 5 women who are named. Not only that, she's the first woman who's named. So if you go read in Matthew 1, it's a long 2 or 3 paragraph section about the lineage of Jesus. She's the first one mentioned, and then it's just was the son of, was the son of, was the son of. And then the following women were Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba, and Mary. Goodness. So I took that as like, sometimes I feel like a piece of crap, right? And I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of doing any of this. Why am I sitting at this table? Why do I try to share the gospel? Who am I? The Moses thing. Moses is the one who said, I'm not the right person to lead these people. Well, guess what? Jesus came from somebody who the mother was a harlot and slept with Judah, and sin. We can still be used. It can still make its way back to God's plan.
Yeah, Judah and Tamar, that was a prostitution / incest, technically. So that's in the line of Jesus.
And an outside marriage, she's a Canaanite.
Canaanite. Go back to David. He is a murderer, and some would call him a rapist, because whenever Bathsheba was brought to his chambers, that wasn't like hey, you can choose here. And so when people say like David was a rapist, it's like, okay, I understand that argument. So Bathsheba is somewhere between an innocent bystander that was raped or someone that was a little bit Jezebelian or something in between. Right. Like, did she know that King David could see her from that? We're only left to speculate. And then, you go back, you got Ruth, you got Boaz, and this is all in that same line. And so, yeah, you're right. I think about that every single time. I'm like, there are whores and murderers that are in the line of Jesus. And so this idea that we're to approach the Bible and look for all the squeaky clean people, it's like there's a reason you can only find one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, any other thoughts on Genesis 38 before we wrap this up? Y'all want to guess the top 100 movies of Internet Movie Database, or are we putting a scarlet thread on that too? Wrapping that up. You got anything else to say? Anything else to say, Russ?
No.
No? You good?
Yep.
Don't worry, guys. We're friends. It's okay. I've known him longer than anybody at this table. But, guys, we're going to leave it there. Come back here next week where we're going to dig into Genesis 39, right?
Genesis 39.
No. Wait.
We're supposed to do 39 now. We got time.
Yeah.
We got 13 minutes.
Time.
We're good to go.
Guys, that's not... it's not like my notes are wrong. Said I didn't read them right. So, hey, Russ, we're actually not done with this episode. I was like, man, we just could not stretch this one out. It's because I planned it that way. We're just going to read Genesis 39 right here. So just go ahead and read the whole thing.
All right. Now Joseph had been brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the guard, an Egyptian, had bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, and he was in the house of the Egyptian master. His master saw the Lord was with him, and the Lord caused all that he did to succeed in his hands. So Joseph found favor in the sight and attended him, and he made him overseer of his house and put him in charge of all that he had. From the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in house and field. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and because of him he had no concern about anything but the food he ate. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. And after a time his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Behold, because of me my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my charge. He is not greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me except you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" And as she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not listen to her, to lie beside her, or to be with her. But one day, when he went into the house to do his work, none of the men of the house was there in the house. She, pause for a page flip, caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand and fled, and got out of the house. And as soon as she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and had fled out of the house, she called to the men of her household and said to them, "See, he has brought among us a Hebrew to laugh at us. He came in to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And as soon as he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried out, he left his garment beside me and fled, and got out of the house. Then she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she told him the same story, saying, "The Hebrew servant whom you have brought among us came into me to laugh at me. But as soon as I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his garment beside me and fled out of the house." As soon as his master heard the words that his wife had spoken to him, "This is the way your servant treated me," his anger was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. And he was there in prison, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever was done there, he was the one who did it. The keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it succeed.
Let's talk about the obvious connection here. Eve, Sarai, Tamar, this chick. Women are the problem.
Yes. Right.
Four times in a row. You add all that up. Think about all the problems that
End of
we
the
have.
episode. Yeah, we don't need to say anything else, right? The 5% of women that listen to this show are furious right now, but all the guys know. They know what's up.
You're going to get like 2 emails from the women.
Yeah,
Even
one of them's
like-
going to be one from your house.
Yep.
To that point,
My
like,
phone is already vibrating.
even Potiphar, if he thought Joseph was guilty, he wouldn't have just thrown him in prison.
Yeah.
He knew his wife was crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
He would have killed him if he was
He
guilty.
didn't
Yeah,
get-
so I read something about that said that, the obvious solution here, especially being that he was a Hebrew, would have been immediate death.
Yeah.
And so, like, whenever it says that he became angry, it doesn't say to who or what, but there is an implication that he put him not only in a prison, this kind of white collar prison
Like
type
his personal
situation.
prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it does imply that he had some knowledge of, this lady is not the best. This dude's been really good to me. I have to do what I have to do, but I'm not going to kill him.
It's like make her happy by doing this. But I mean, she had to have known too, because Pharaoh 100% had to have put people to death, right? Sentenced people to death during his reign. Like there's no way to be Pharaoh in this age without doing something like that. Sure. But the overwhelming thing in this entire section here is the Lord was with Joseph. The Lord was with Joseph. We just see that at the beginning and at the end. There was one note, I forgot to write the commentary down, so I won't be able to give him credit, unfortunately. But God was with him, but he didn't speak to him. He didn't speak to Joseph in the same way that he spoke to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right?
Right.
But he was with him nonetheless. And so, like, as Joseph is being sold into slavery, and as Joseph is falsely imprisoned, and as we continue the narrative of Joseph as we go, we're going to see, like, hey, there's a bunch of stuff that happens to this dude. And, like, again, you don't put yourself in the Bible. The Bible's not about you. But if you've ever had anything unjust happen to you, like, you probably don't react in the same way that Joseph did and have the faith that he did, because, we're going to get into the guy that was released from prison that he helped with his dream, and the dude forgot about Joseph for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so, again, you talk about that's a line, right? But it was 2 years he was sitting there like, okay, I wonder if today's the day that he's going to remind Pharaoh that I'm down here and that Pharaoh actually likes me.
Joseph is steadfastness. I mean, he is the epitome of it. Even when you go back to the dreams, whenever he had the dreams and he told his brothers, and they got so mad, we kind of joked around about some people think that he's arrogant in telling those dreams. I, for one, think he's just one of these people that is just so steadfast and straightforward about things. He doesn't know any other way to be. He is just straightforward and steadfast, and we see it happening again. One really interesting thing here is we see this idea that the garment, again, is what is torn from him and used as the accusation of what he was doing, where he was at, those kind of things. And so it's very strange that in each situation, he ends up with a garment. There's got to be some uniqueness to this garment as well. The fact that, like, this is his garment. This, this, is his, and that she presents it to her husband again. It's kind of strange. I don't know if y'all have any thoughts on that.
Well, who gave him the garment? Pharaoh did.
Right.
And she takes it back to him to where it's like, hey, I lavished this upon you. If it was purple, Like the amount of money it would have taken to get the thread together to make something in the royal color would have been substantial.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, something about that I got from this, what's one of the tenets of Undaunted Life? It's to forge physical, mental, and spiritual resilience. But physical resilience, right? We don't run away from things very often, right? We're not designed to run away. We're going to face it. But what does Joseph do here? When it's sexual immorality, freaking run.
Yeah.
Get
Flee
the
from
heck
sexual
out.
immorality.
1 Corinthians 6:18, flee from sexual immorality. Get out. Go away. You cannot be around it. And it's, you know, I'm sure there's obviously guys listening that are struggling with adultery or struggling with pornography. We've talked about this on the podcast several times. Get the freak away from it.
I just don't understand, because I say this basically every time I speak in front of a group of people. It's like, I don't know if, church camps ruined it or like if VeggieTales ruined it. I have no idea. But it's like, why do we think that sins are all in the same category? Mm-hmm. So like in a binary, is this sin? Yes or no? Yes, they are in the same category. But the Bible literally puts sexual sin in a completely different category. Think about the ways to get out of a marriage. It's abandonment, adultery, and death. That's a short list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people don't really understand like the gravity, and so they want to play with fire. They want to just, it's not OnlyFans. Like it's just, the For Me page on TikTok or whatever. And it's just showing me boob after boob after boob.
Yep. It's like the guy in Proverbs that says, I saw a young man that was wandering the streets at dusk. It's the guys that kind of put themselves in the wrong position at the wrong time, and then they go, oh, why did I fall into this? But you were there. You set yourself up. What I do think too, to point out that he didn't do was he didn't work a workaround. Like it would have been very easy for him to be like, listen, she wants me to lie with her. I won't do that. But she's really powerful. She's my boss's wife. I need to figure out some way to manage this situation. Because she even said at one point on verse 10, it says, and she spoke to him day after day, and he would not listen, to lie beside her, which is obviously sleep with her, or to be with her. Like that she was kind of giving him some options to just like, be with me, spend some time with me, stick around. And he kept saying no, where a lot of guys would say, well, let's just go to lunch or let's do this. Like, let's figure out a way to work this friendship. And then they find themselves in a position they never meant to be in. But really, we all know.
To carry that on, what Kyle said earlier, both verse 2 and verse 21 say the Lord was with Joseph. So are we going to say that Joseph was super powerful or amazing or he was chivalrous or did anything like it wasn't himself? It's because the Lord was with him. And so it's the same thing. I equate that to this table, the guys that we're with, spending time with each other, because I can't do this on my own. I might not be as noble on my own, I guess, without all of you guys keeping me accountable. Like that's important. Or being in Scripture, being in the Word. Obviously, when there's times when I'm not going to be as good as I could be or should be.
Well, it's partially just laying your yes down. And so, because we see again in verse 23, because the Lord was with him. And so it's like, you could be in the presence of the Lord and still choose. Well, I don't know how Calvinists believe. But, everybody else, it's just like, hey, you can be in the presence of the Lord and still choose this. So, like, how Adam chose violence and went full misogynist a second ago. Let's double tap that. Let's double tap that before we get out of here. So let's talk about this Jezebelian woman. This was out of a commentary, how she tries to maximize her case in front of her husband. Her husband, she blamed her husband for Joseph even being there. Like, you have a Hebrew in our presence, so it's like, hey, this is your fault. So that's a nice one. And then the second is talks about him being non-Egyptian, and that exploited the racial tensions that were going on at that time. And then claims that Joseph's transgression is not just against her, but against the entire house, against the entire kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's not just bad, it's the worst thing it could possibly be. And of course, she's lying the entire time.
Right. Well, you got to think that there are people that he went above in his position that did not feel like he should be there, because they especially this Hebrew guy. Later on, we see that even whenever he is the second in command over all of Egypt, he still couldn't eat with the Egyptians. That'll come up later. So these Egyptians, definitely she's trying to play into this idea that there's been talk, he's a Hebrew, we can't trust him, and she plays it perfectly.
It would be great to know, like, what was it about him that gave Potiphar the feeling that this guy is different than everybody else? It says the Lord is with him, but gosh, I want to know what that's like. I would love to see what that really meant. How did he come to the conclusion that this guy is better than all these other guys that I've known my entire life?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, I wonder what made him so attractive to this woman. I was like, he's clearly redheaded, right? Redheaded, clear
Definitely
skin.
a
My son
ginger.
would do the whole what is this? Where they like
The 5 o'clock shadow beard.
no, where the kids nowadays like do this weird deal where they do some face still on
Hey,
their
your kids are
jawline.
playing
know
like
that
summer ball. What is it? What? I don't know.
It basically means that you're chiseled or something like that. That's what
Oh.
they do. This little jawline deal. My
I
son
don't wanna
does
live
it all the
in
time.
this
Like, he
time.
walks out
No.
in the room and we're like, "Hey man, you look nice today." He's like, "Yeah."
How old is he?
12.
Oh my gosh,
Good.
this is about the time
That's
where
good.
it's okay, where the cops will just look the other way while you're beating them up. I'm just saying, like, just you got to get that in line right now. But sorry, we went off on the IMDb train because I was sitting there the whole time, like, how are we going to make Genesis 38 going to last an hour? Well, if you read your own notes, it doesn't have to work out that way. But we are going to actually leave this discussion there. But come back here next week. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're doing Genesis 40 through 40 verse 1, verse 41:36. Okay, so Genesis 40, verse 1 through 41:36. So make sure you're prepared for next week. And before we let you go, we are going to do a quick resilience boost. At Undaunted.Life, our mission is equipping men to push back darkness with content that forges spiritual, mental, and physical resilience. Just a reminder, we have a Crossway forging table starter set. You can check that out in the show notes and get all that at a discount. Also, we have the Logos Bible software, the best Bible software on the planet. You can sign up for that. We got a link in the show notes. And we are a donation-based ministry. So if you're wondering how we can pull off stuff like the forging table, it's because we have guys like you partnering with us on a monthly basis. So hop on board and be a donor. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@undaunted.life. That's info@undaunted.life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.undaunted.life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.